Welcome back. Well, today we are taking a look at all of the stuff I picked up at a consignment shop in Hanover called Finders Keepers. And when I saw that shop, I just went into a happy little dance because my goodness, the stuff they had there. And I say had because far too much of it came home with me. We're going to take a look at that today. So we will be right back. How about a word or two from our friends from Portugal? So for those of you, and I say this at the beginning of every video because I want to make sure the people who are new to this understand what's going on. And those of you who have heard me read from this book before know how very important an explanation is. This is English as She Is Spoke, written by Mr. Jose de Fonseca and Mr. Pedro Carolino, a couple of Portuguese gentlemen who spoke not a single word of English, but nevertheless decided to write an English language phrase book. Okay. Now, I'm breaking into a new section today, and I have to say, of all the sections in this book, this is certainly the most aptly titled, because the title of this is Idiotisms and Proverbs. Okay, here are some idiotisms. Few the bird make her nest. 4 eyes does see better than 2. So many heads, so much opinions. What come into me for an ear, yet out for another? The walls have hearsay. He has a part in the coke. He has the throat paved. It's are some blue stories. He go to 4 feet. Nothing some money, nothing of Swiss. He has discovered the pot to roses. Laugh at throat displayed. That make to come water in the mouth. To become of Bishop Miller. He sleep as a marmot. Take the moon with the teeth. He has a good beak. He is armed of foot at up. In the country of blinds, the one-eyed men are kings. To build castles in a Spanish. Oh, yeah. Yes, I believe we can all agree these are indeed idiotisms. And I am assuming that our dear Portuguese friends imagined that their countrymen would go off and just regale their new American friends with their witticisms. Oh my. Well, I'm going to do this video a little differently today. And what I thought was, because there are so many things I want to show you, and if I interrupt the video with close-up pictures every time out, well, it's going to be a nightmare of editing for me, and it's going to be a very choppy video for you. So what I thought I would do is simply do a slideshow of everything here. We'll go through, I'll even give you music, I promise. And it'll be lively little children's music so we can all get up and do a happy little dance. We'll go through the whole thing, and then if there's anything you want to see, again, remember, this is a video. You can fast forward, you can rewind. You know, what was it they used to say? At the Twilight Zone, you control the horizontal, you control the vertical. Or was that That wasn't the Twilight Zone. That was one step beyond. All right, I need to hear from the 1950s and early 60s television aficionados. We control the horizontal, we control the vertical. What show did that come from? It was one of those little spook shows. All right. Anyway, you're in complete control. This is a video. You decide what you want to watch when you want to watch it. So here is our slideshow. It is everything on the table with the exception of my coffee and the Tidbit tray. And as you know, we've got two of these. The winners are being chosen this week by my cat. So here we go. Okay, that was everything we have here. So as I go through this, if you want to see something, just go back, hit that slideshow up. You control it all. So let me start right here with these little pieces. This is a really sweet set of creamer and sugar made in Japan, and this is what I think of as Japan kitsch. Darling things. These were brought over in the 50s and early 60s. They are mid-century pieces, but they are not mid-century modern per se. There's nothing, atomic or Sputnik-y about them. Just mid-century pieces. They're beautiful, sort of lime green. It's sort of light lime with the burgundy and dark green. And as we saw from the last haul video, the one that aired Saturday morning, this burgundy and hunter green is a really popular color combination in Japanese porcelain, at least the stuff that was imported into the US. So frankly, it's one of the things I look for, because it's one of the things you can see from across the room is burgundy and hunter green. You see that, pick it up and look at the bottom, because it was a hot Japanese color combination. The pieces are in excellent condition. It's a heavy stoneware, and you can see it's not fine porcelain here. All right. See how dull that sounds? Not fine porcelain, stoneware. These pieces were intended to sit on the breakfast table, get handled by the children. Just good, solid pieces. I love them. They are just so archetypical of what they are. Now, I wish I could tell you what I paid for them, but I can't, because they took the price tags off. Unlike Goodwill, they leave their price tags on, and they did not provide a detailed receipt. Again, unlike some of the fancier antique shops who pull the price tags off but give you an itemized receipt. In fact, this is one of the few places I've ever been to where you just got a receipt and here, this is what you paid for it. But I took a calculator. It's embarrassing that I needed to take a calculator to come up with this. It's simple math. I paid almost $75, $74.96 for these items, and there were 17 items or collections of items that I purchased, which means my average price was about $4.50. So that's what I have to work with, an approximate price of $4.50. Some were a little more, some were a little less. If I were to look at any one of these and say, did I pay $4.50 for that? I might not think it was such a good deal. Others I would look at and say, oh, that was a bargain. So I am assuming I paid a little less for the ones that I think are not quite worth that much. So it's an average. This is not something I would sell for any more than $20, because I want someone to have this. I don't want it to sit around. I'm not, but that's how my Etsy shop works anyway. When it works, because I haven't listed in a while. I swear I'm going to get to it. I want somebody to have this. I want their kids to have this on the kitchen table, because this is just kid-friendly ceramics. So if I were to list this, for what I thought I would get for it, for example, if I threw this on my eBay site, I would certainly be looking for $25 to $30 for it. It's going on Etsy, it's going for less than $20, because that's just how I deal with that. Great piece. Oh, and it is marked Japan on the bottom. These. Well, let me show you the first thing I saw. And it was this beautiful serving plate. It's not round. See? It's sort of an oval design overall, but it's got a scalloped edge. The pattern on it is very Japanese looking. This is something that, boy, if I didn't know better and took a quick look, I would say, Katani, maybe Imari. Imari, yes, the blue. I would say Imari. No, this is English China. But this just goes to show you how popular the Asian designs were when they came over. The European porcelain manufacturers copied them and adapted them. In fact, one of the most popular China patterns in the U.S. from the 1960s was a pattern, I believe it was put out by Mikasa, but don't quote me on that. I'd really have to look that up. But it's called Old Imari, and it's a nice modern rendition of a traditional Japanese Imari pattern. So this, no, not Asian. Nice Asian look though, and good English china. And it comes with 4 little saucers. So I am torn. You know, when I get sets like this, I like them in even numbers, because I think even numbers sell better than odd numbers. 4 plates and a nice serving dish. Maybe that would sell nicely. On the other hand, what a tidbit tray that would make. So I have not made up my mind yet, especially since if I put this together with that beautiful bottom plate and one of the saucers, I would have 3 saucers left over. And as you all know, I have some beautiful Katani plates that I got from Jocelyn and some beautiful Imari plates that I picked up on my own. And I could do some very interesting things with the remaining 3 plates and tidbit trays, which have become a thing for me. I'm having so much fun making them. You have no idea. All right, let's take a look at this, because, again, this is, just speaking of Katani, this is a Katani style geisha plate. I get a lot of questions about this. Now, see this? Please go back to that slideshow and take a good look at this, because this is a well-executed version of a geisha ware plate. This particular design, which is from Japan, came into the U.S. in the 50s and 60s, is all over the place in terms of the artistry. Some of the worst pieces I have ever seen in my life are in this style, along with a piece like this, which is just beautifully executed. And in fact, I did a video specifically about this several months ago, and someone had written to me and said, "Oh, what are you doing with those pieces?" I'm throwing them away, because I had saved some terrible pieces like this, and he wanted it. I sent it to him for the cost of the shipping, and frankly, I think I cheated him, even charging him that much. Some of it is terrible. Some of it, though, like this, is gorgeous. So when you look at this, look with your artistic eye. If it looks good, if it is well painted, it will have a market. If it is junk, walk away, because you might not be as lucky as I was. I at least found somebody who'd pay the shipping for it. And that, I thought, was an absolute miracle. On the other hand, at the same time that I shipped that stuff out to this fellow who, I don't know what he wanted it for. I should have asked. And perhaps he had some relative he really disliked and planned on giving it to them as a joke present. I don't know, but I should have asked. But at the same time, I had a set of egg cups in the same design that was very well executed, just beautiful work. It's all over the place, from highest quality to absolute junk. So you see it, look for the quality, look for coloring within the lines. That's when it's going to have a value. But walk away from the junk. These 2 little pieces came with that Katani ware piece. These are Japanese pieces. They are relatively modern. Now that piece, the Katani, this one, this 1950s, 1960s, that's when these pieces came into the U.S. Modern, probably 1980s, I would say. They've got some age to them, but not a lot. This is beautiful geisha piece, and this is chrysanthemums. They are the same size. They very often came in sets with, multiple plates. These are really nicely executed, but again, they don't have the age. So something like this is not going to sell for a fortune. And we've got the Moriage and, well, I always do the French thing, Moriage, but it's actually Moriage. Sort of like Mr. Miyagi. Why don't we call it Miyagi? The Japanese raised, and you can feel it. It's almost like reading Braille, honestly. Just a series of little dots you can just run your finger across. So these pieces are nice, modern Japanese pieces. They're not worth a fortune, but they will sell. Now let's take a look at a couple of other Japanese pieces. And this is a set of 4 plates. And they've got the Japan stamp. And when you look at the stamp tells you a lot about the age. These are older. This is not the 1980s. We're probably looking at the 1960s or 70s on this. And I gave you some close-ups on this. These are gorgeous. We have a peacock here, beautiful. Flowers, peonies. This is some sort of strange Japanese bird, and as we already determined, I do not know one Japanese bird from another, so I'm just going to call it the Roadrunner, and a Japanese carriage. They have little hanging hooks on the back. So these were wall plates at one time. Were they intended to be wall plates? In other words, were they imported with these little hangers? I don't know, because you could buy these little hangers in the 1950s and 60s at Woolworths, and you just stuck them on the back of your plates and hung them on the wall. So I have no idea if this is how they came over, or if some past owner decided they were pretty enough to hang on the wall. No clue, won't know. I am leaving the hangers on them. This is glue. This is something that if you just threw that into a sink full of soapy water, it would soak off in time. So when I list those, they are going to be listed with the hanger. And if the new owner wants it, great, it's there. If they don't, not a problem. These are gorgeous. They have this nice sort of imari edge to them. And we've talked about that when you start talking about imari and katana, you're talking about a lot of things that fall into that category. But this is sort of an imari style design. They are, good heavens, they are breathtaking. And they are something that will sell to a collector of Japanese art. This is probably not something that's going to go to a collector of Asian in general. It's probably going to go to Japanese in particular, because some of these have, this carriage piece, have motifs that are just so exclusive to Japanese porcelain. They're going to appeal to a very specific collector. So I thought that was a wonderful find, and they're so pretty. And who knows, maybe they won't get listed after all. Okay, here is another set of china, and this is a set of 6 plates. And again, even numbers, 6 plates. The 6 plates are pretty much considered a full service set. Years ago, when I was a kid, it was 8. But when I was a kid, people had families that consisted of 4, 5, 6 children. Now, not so much. Now, 6 is going to take care of a family, usually with a plate or 2 to spare. This is English china, just like that other set, but with a very, very Asian look to it. It's that dark cobalt blue and the combination of blue and orange, very, very popular in Asian china. Take a look here. See that blue-orange? This was just a really great little set. This is going to go into my Etsy store. This is probably going to be listed for $20 or less. If I decided to throw this on eBay, I would expect it to go for about double that because this is gorgeous china. And that is going to appeal to someone with an Asian sensibility, but who wants English china. And they are out there. Now this is an ashtray. This is a very rare ashtray. Now, rare does not always mean valuable. I'm going to explain this. This piece is Rose Mandarin. Now, Rose Medallion, which is very similar, and this is a Famille Rose piece, same sort of piece. Rose Medallion has the little medallion in the middle, usually with a peony, that's the medallion, and panels around it. Rose Medallion has panels of people alternating with flowers or birds or butterflies or whatever. And Rose Canton has the little medallion with alternating panels with no people, just birds. Rose Mandarin has just people. So the fact that it's Rose Mandarin alone would make it rare. But the thing that makes this rare is this piece is made in Macau. Now, and we've discussed this, originally Rose Medallion china came from China. But then the Communist Revolution, that was like 1949, communists took over, strangled off Rose Medallion imports, but not the demand. So Rose Medallion after 1949 was made in Japan and usually decorated in Hong Kong. So the porcelain was Japanese, the painting was Hong Kong. This piece is Macau. Some pieces were made in Macau. Sometimes they were actually fired in Macau. The porcelain was made in Macau. Sometimes they were fired in Japan, painted in Macau. That was a rarity. There are Macau pieces, not a lot. However, the rarity does not add to the value. This is one of those instances wherein rarity is not increasing the price. This is only the second piece of Macau Rose Medallion I have ever owned, and interestingly enough, the first piece was also an ashtray. This one is probably not going to be sold. Because it's Rose Mandarin, and because I usually use my own china when I do instructional videos on Rose Medallion, Rose Canton, Rose Mandarin, I wouldn't mind a nice, relatively small and easy to demonstrate piece of Rose Mandarin. Also, this piece weighs almost 1.5 pounds. This is a lethal weapon. You could whack someone on the head with this and they wouldn't be getting up anytime soon. And for an ashtray that frankly does not have a very high value, I really have to question whether or not someone would be willing to pay the necessary shipping costs, because if this went out to California at 1.5 pounds, it would be over $10 in shipping alone. So I'm not sure it would be a wise sale. I think this is something that I bought for me that will go into my China collection in with the pieces that I usually haul out when I want to use them for demonstration purposes. However, this is a sweet piece. It really is. It's well painted, well done, um, very nice. I would guess this to be 1970s. That's my best guess in terms of the age of the piece. I would also guess that this was not fired in Macau. It was probably fired in Japan, maybe even China, because Macau did get some of their porcelains from China. Uh, Interesting piece, not going for resale. That will just go into the hoard. And as I say, it's just too useful as a teaching piece for me to give it up easily. And also, second Macau piece, both of them were ashtrays. I think, the gods of hoarding want me to keep this. So it will stay. Okay, this is a very nice little ginger jar. It's got some beautiful crazing on it. It's got a very nice pattern. It's peonies and chrysanthemums. The chrysanthemums tell me it's Japanese. The Japanese love chrysanthemums. The Chinese are not so crazy about them, but it's a big thing with the Japanese. Nice piece. No gilding. Is there? No. There's a little bit of gilding in the design, but no gilding on the edges. Really nice condition. The crazing is very appealing. And I don't know if we've discussed this, but crazing has had such great popularity in China. The Chinese ceramists were so nuts about crazing that they would intentionally fire pieces in order to get crazing. So it would come out of the kiln and bang, crazing, and they were like all excited. It's like, look, we have instant crazing, because ordinarily you have to wait many years for the crazing to appear. So this piece is reasonably modern, guessing 1980s, possibly even 1990s. Nice small ginger jar. It doesn't have an antique value, so the value of this piece is not tied into the age. It's just tied into the attractiveness of the piece. This is really a super little piece. So now we got some stuff with a bit of age here. We've talked about this before. This has a lusterware rim. These pieces do have lusterware on them. I want you to look at that design and then look at this one. This piece is Noritake, and this is a classic Noritake design. This is not Noritake. This came out of one of the Japanese factories that were actively producing in the 1950s, so that's probably when this piece dates from, and they were duplicating the Noritake design. Now, if you look at them close together, a child could tell the difference. The Noritake piece is just beautifully executed, finely detailed, and this, no, it seems to be a happy little tree that Bob Ross did with his fluffy little brush. Definitely more amateurish design. Nevertheless, it's a lusterware. It's a very pretty piece. It's a little tray. And these two pieces were on the tray. We have a little pot of some sort. No idea what this little pot would have held. And this little covered pot, lid with a spoon cut out. I expect this was probably the mustard pot. Don't know what this is. Who knows? Could be anything. Um, any kind of Japanese, for all I know, they kept wasabi in this. Oh, it's a lot of wasabi. Nice little set. I bought it as a set. I believe it was always a set. It's all the same manufacturer. The pieces are not identical. If I had seen these pieces scattered separately throughout the store, I don't think it would have occurred to me to put them together. But it's a sweet little set of miniature Japanese pieces, and there is a strong market for this. The lusterware, with something like this, you have people who collect Japan will be looking at it. People who collect lusterware will be looking at it. People who collect miniatures will be looking at it. It crosses, just crosses a number of collection categories. Sweet set. That is definitely going to get listed because somebody is going to scoop that up. Now let's go over here to these Noritake pieces. These are both Noritake, and I bought them together as a set. They are clearly not a set. They have the same marks on the bottom, but it's green M. It's a very common Noritake mark. I've got all kinds of stuff with that mark. Salt and pepper shakers that I just hauled right off my stove. Same Noritake. So you can easily see they all have the same basic design. The tree, the water, the little hut. Sometimes you get the little swan swimming in the water. And when people come across pieces like these, they will often put them together erroneously. Right now, I probably have at least half a dozen pieces of Noritake in my house right now with the same marks that are from all over the place, that if I threw them all together, I could say, oh, look, a set. No, they're not a set. This was just a classic Noritake design. So I have to give this some thought and figure out if I want to sell them together or if I want to separate them, because, as I say, I do not believe they are a set. So I might end up just separating them, selling them separately, and letting people find other pieces and put them together as a set. These two, by the way, that I just took off the stove, that was just for purposes of illustration. I did not get them in this haul. All right, let's take a look at this. This is a very nice Japanese piece. It's a little dish, bowl, something rather small. I'm not clear about what the initial use would have been for a piece like this, but this is the sort of thing that I see as a trinket dish, a soap dish. This is, you could probably use it for just about anything. Very nice piece, marked on the back. Classic, relatively modern Japanese piece. When I say relatively modern, I'm talking about second half of the 20th century. I'm not talking about, yesterday. This one is probably, I'm going to say 1980s, 1990s. Not new, because we're talking a good 30 to 40 years old. Not new, but not really antique. Definitely vintage. Piece like this, full retail on eBay, is probably going to be maybe $20 at most. So it'll go into the Etsy shop for about $10. Nice piece though. Someone will want it. Now let's take a look at these beauties. This bowl is marked on the back. It says hand painted and something that it has just been mostly obliterated. Best guess is probably Japan. This is very typical of mid-century Japanese imports. And there are 3 of these bowls. I got all 3 individually. These were not a set. Really nice. Condition is great. Gilding's beautiful. Very interesting edges on this. I'll show you this one. Got like a petal-like edge on it. Beautiful flowers. This one seems older than the others to me. Again, condition is beautiful. And this third one is lusterware. This was the first one I saw. This was the first one I grabbed. Just a very nice little group of bowls. I would not sell them together because I did not buy them together. They're not a set. But I suspect they probably came from the same original owner, because clearly this is somebody's taste. Yes, excuse me. What are you doing? Okay. Photobomb Kitty is crawling around my feet. We could very well have company on the table at any moment. Anyway, probably all came from the same owner. I suspect there is someone out there who was collecting these pieces. Beautiful, beautiful pieces. Definitely worth the trouble it took to grab them. All right, this is a Japanese ginger jar with that beautiful Japanese carriage. And remember this plate, you can see the Japanese carriage. Hold it up right there. You can see it's pretty much the same Japanese carriage. That is classic Japanese carriage. Beautiful pieces. Well, it's carriage. Yes, it's got wheels. Beautiful piece. Unmarked. Nevertheless, it's so obvious what it is. This, again, is relatively modern. We're probably looking at 4th quarter 20th century, but a really nice ginger jar. And also, this is a very useful size. This is probably about 7 inches. Very useful size. If I were to list this on eBay, my expectation would be over $20. It's not going to be listed. It's going to be listed on Etsy, so the sale price is going to be under $20 because, again, I want this stuff to find homes. I don't want it to just sit there. The goal is not, to make $1 million on these pieces. It's to pass them off to others. Now, this was an interesting little acquisition. These are little teacups. They are from China, but they are relatively modern, definitely 3rd quarter 20th century, certainly no older. Very heavy porcelain. What appeals to me is it's very heavily embossed. It's got beautiful gilding. It's got beautiful painting. And I really like these pieces. They grab me. And I have a feeling if they had little holes in them and little Tidbit tray hardware, they would happily live in somebody's bathroom holding their cosmetics. I got this piece to go with them, and I basically bought the set for this little teapot. Beautiful little miniature teapot. I do not believe there was any practical purpose served by this teapot because, as you can clearly see, this teapot doesn't even hold enough to fill the cup. So I found that interesting. A miniature teacup or miniature teapot with what is very close to a full-size teacup. These are going to end up being project pieces. They are not going to be sold as is. it's extremely likely that these are going to become little Tidbit tray trinket dishes, like the one I showed you I made for my own bathroom, which, by the way, I'm finding very useful. I took my earrings off the other night and just dropped them in there. So handy. So those are project pieces. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with this, but I don't know. I can see that on top of a Tidbit tray. Now this piece, Noritake, lusterware, very simple. Cobalt blue, this pearlescent lusterware and gilding. Very nice little piece. This is something that could be sold as is, or again, I could just haul out the drill, turn it into something else. I wasn't going to leave it behind. Very sweet piece. And let's go to the last piece. Lamp. Now, this lamp is, when I'm through with this video, I'm going to make another video, and they're going to be aired in reverse order. The other video will be aired before this one, because this lamp is going to be our project for Sunday, and this video is coming out Monday morning. This is just a gorgeous little piece. It's not very old. It's relatively modern, but it is a great piece. It's got a foo dog, and the foo dog is playing with the ball and whatever that is. And by the way, people know what these are. If you speak to someone from China, they will tell you all about that little ball and all about the little cords and whatnot. Very nice piece. However, when I saw this piece on the shelf, it had a modern lamp harp, and let me dig out, I got my finial box right here. And it had a finial that looked very much like this. It was modern shiny brass. This one at least has the advantage of being antique brass. Modern shiny brass finial, modern harp, and all I could think of was, oh my goodness, that is just the wrong hat for the queen. Now, I'm sure you've seen these before. Haul out of my little finial box. I keep a few of these on hand. And as I've explained, the reason I keep blue and white Chinese porcelain finials in my box is because the Chinese love blue and white. You find so many gorgeous pieces in blue and white that might in fact be in need of a finial. So, oh yeah, project time. Now, this project, as you will have already seen, this is what we're doing Sunday morning for our project, because the condition is really very shabby, and we want to take a look at turning this into a decent looking piece with a minimum of effort. So, and by the way, that's why we had to do the videos in this order, why I had to film Monday's video before Sunday's, because you needed to see this before I actually transformed it into something else. Now, the original harp and finial is probably in the back of Jocelyn's car, along with a whole lot of other things, because, my goodness, sometimes things just get lost there. But I'm pretty sure that fell off. It's in the back of Joss's car. I would have liked you to see how bad a match that finial was, but take my word for it, it was just an embarrassment, which is part of the reason I bought this piece, because I knew it needed to be salvaged. It just screamed to me, hey, fix me up. I know you have a finial for me. So this was the haul from Finders Keepers. As you can see, I came very close to cleaning them out of Asian porcelain. There were a few pieces I left. There were some modern pieces that I generally don't touch pieces that are really modern. A few of these pieces are relatively modern, but 30, 40 years old, I'm fine with that. We'll see how these pieces do. I was overall very, very pleased with that shop for a couple of reasons. First of all, I didn't have to fuss too much about whether or not these pieces were in good shape. Yes, I had to check them over. You always do. But I was not finding damage. I think they did a pretty good job weeding the damaged pieces out instead of putting them on the shelves. You don't always see that at thrift stores. On the other hand, at thrift stores, I end up paying a premium. Well, strike that. When I buy it at antique stores where they're screening it, I pay a premium for that. So these pieces were on average $4.50 per. But keep in mind, that includes sets of 4 to 6 plates. It includes something like this, again, a 4-piece set. So the prices were not out of line, not by any stretch of the imagination. They were just not quite as good as the Goodwill prices. So I'm very satisfied with this. I think this was a very good haul. Plenty of things that will go into the shop, plenty of things that will be saved and turned into project pieces. So that's it for today. I know this video got really long, and I am sorry for that, but I hope you will bear with me. And again, it's a video. Stop it, come back to it next week. Nobody's actually sitting over you with a stopwatch saying, you must watch this all right now. Take your time. If it's too long, go have lunch. Come back later. All right. Have a fantastic week, and I will very happily see you next Saturday morning.